is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
You'd think after covering the Lotus 49 World Cup for nearly 2 years and almost 8 seasons, we'd have it sussed out how things will go. And yet this season has thrown us completely for a loop. With attendance soaring and competition heating up, a giant question mark remains over who will be the main contenders heading into the second half of the season. A mere 5 points separate our top 3, and we'll see if any of them can begin to stretch that gap as we get ready to watch round 5 of the Lotus 49 World Cup. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Johan Vandenbelt. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Johan, we return to Interlagos, where F1 has made its home in Brazil. Tell us about the place.
Yeah, we visit today Autódromo José Carlos Pachi, the home of Formula 1 in South America for the last 20 years. This track was constructed in 1940, but interestingly enough, almost didn't see the light of day. The original owners of the land planned to build a bunch of houses, but had to change their plans after the 1929 stock market crash. Now in 1972, Formula 1 visited the circuit for the first time, and 1 year later it became a part of the official schedule. Again, around a decade later, it was named after the Brazilian Formula 1 race winner Carlos Pachi, and it saw a big configuration change in the 1990s when the length was almost cut in half. The nickname of the track, you already mentioned it, is Interlagos, and it literally means between the lakes. These artificial bodies of water supply the region with water and electricity, but also gives the area a different microclimate, with weather being able to change very suddenly. Luckily, the drivers today do not have to worry about the Brazilian summer storm appearing, as the track is tricky enough as it is, especially the run from turn 13 Jungau until the Senna S is very difficult in this car, as the car can suddenly break away in corners, which you can take full throttle in any other vehicle. The track always offers very exciting racing, and I doubt today will be any different. But before we go to qualifying, let's hop on board the GSRC Lotus 49 for a lap around Interlagos.
Alright, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Interlagos. Coming down the front stretch, the Senna S is going to provide a good passing opportunity, but drivers will find keeping the car stable at turn-in pretty tricky if they're pushing the limits, so some passes might go horribly wrong. After that, try to give yourself a nice wide entry to the Curva de Sol. You'll be feathering the throttle around this long, gentle sweeper, waiting until it's safe to get to the power. Try not to straddle the curve at the exit too much, and then you're flying down the Reta Aposta. At the end, the Descida del Lago will be another popular place for overtakes. The tricky thing is with the way the track falls away, the car loves to understeer in the midst of this double apexer. Though 4 and 5 are counted as 2 separate corners, they make for one single arc. Switch sides quickly, and then you approach Ferradura. And the 49, this is a medium speed bend, once again with 2 apexes to contend with. Don't worry about hitting the second one because you'll want to swing the car wide at the exit. You can use up a lot of the curb both on the entry to 8 and at its apex. This starts us into the slowest, most technical portion of the circuit. You'll immediately switch back through 9 where drivers might sometimes short shift to keep better traction on the little spurt down to the duckspill. This is definitely the slowest corner on the whole track, but it probably won't see a lot of overtakes in this car. Once again, there's very little time to switch sides, and you really need every inch of track to carry your speed through Magrulo. Let the car drift off to the curbing on the right, and then whoa it up for Jungshao. This is easily the most critical corner to nail your exit on. Find the grip with your right foot, but stay close to the edge of the track. With nearly no downforce, turn 14 becomes a big lift, whereas in almost every modern car, it's flat out. As soon as you're confident, floor it and then straighten out the final bend onto the front stretch. Hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Interlagos.
That should give you a sense of just how tricky it is around this circuit in places. Drivers have been reporting it is difficult for a number of corners. Now, as we let the drivers get their times in for qualifying, let's take a glance over at the standings, starting with the F1 driver standings. Ove Trangrade leading the way. There's those 5 points we were talking about that. Dave Price gained a lot of ground on him last round. He's now only 2 points back. And Nicola Kochi is up there as well. But all three of those drivers all have 0 points in some races. So once the drop weeks come into play, they do get 2 of those there you see up there. That'll switch around quite a bit. And on the rise, there you see him, the Frenchman, Michel Dudignon, with his dominant win in Road America. Obviously bringing him well up the order. Marco Kika, because of that, slips down to 5th. Now, what about the F2 Championship, Johan?
The F2 Championship, it's being dominated at the moment by Marcellus Breuning. The American driver has gathered 40 points so far and is leading his countryman Andrew Eng by 16 points. But as you could see, Dudignon is rising in the Formula 1 Championship and Andrew Eng is doing it here, gaining 5 positions the last time around. Rob Lapuka is currently 26 points behind Marcellus Breuning in 3rd place, and he's sharing that position with Alex Cameron. They're both 1 point in front of the 2 drivers tied for 5th place, which are Simon Shaw and Hideki Kufisto.
And of course, they hold a Constructors' Cup, but if you're not used to how they do things in the Lotus 49 World Cup, well, it's effectively a Nations' Cup instead of like modern Formula 1, how they do it. So because of that, multiple drivers contributing, Claridge and Price, have brought the UK up to the top. Trangarade currently leading there, being the only one contributing. Same thing with Kochi there in Italy and Dudignon in France. Jumping up 2 spots, Finland has both Kika and Koivisto contributing to their tally so far. Any driver who jumps in can contribute for their nation, though. What about the race details? What are we in store for here today, Johan?
Yeah, we haven't mentioned it yet, but this is round 5 of the 12-round Lotus 49 Championship. This season has 2 drop weeks. That means the 2 watermarks, the 2 worst results of each driver will be removed at the end of the season. The race distance today, however, is 22 laps with open setups, which means that the drivers can change it just to their liking to really conquer this twisty Brazilian circuit. And the scoring has been changed a few seasons ago, with 40 points going to the victor, 35 for P2 and 30 for 3rd place.
And they'll need to be on top of the setup of the car here today because it is hot out on track. 108 degrees Fahrenheit out there on the surface. Only 82 air temperature, thankfully, as we watch Mick Claridge work his way around. Now, he recently took pole away from Dudignon while we were going through those race details. And interestingly, Michel Dudignon can't respond because he's given up on his 2nd lap. So right now, Mick sitting comfortably, although Nicola Kochi was looking fast earlier, but it looks like he's abandoned his 2nd lap. And now Dave Price is going to come across. Next one to get a lap in. It's his 2nd one. He improves, but not in position. He'll stay in 4th.
Yeah, and the time that you mentioned of Mick Claridge is actually really impressive because it has been a while since we've seen Quick Mick on top of the standings. Michel Dudignon wasn't for a lack of trying. He was very quick in his 2nd qualifying lap. He had a small mistake coming out of Bico de Pato, going into Mergulho, and lost a few tenths and just gave up the spirit there and settled for his 32-1 that he's currently sitting with on P2.
AJ Bear has been pretty fast as well in the warm-up. Let's see what he can do on his 2nd lap. He's currently on a 133.2, which places him in 7th right now as he works his way down towards the Ferradura. Through the technical slow section of this course. I always found this one pretty difficult in this car. Not as tough as some of the fast corners, not as scary as them, but this car does not like slow sections in most racetracks.
No, absolutely not. It's kind of difficult car wherever you are on the circuit, because the slow corners it just doesn't handle, it doesn't have the downforce, but also in the very fast corners you lack downforce. You have to lift off, almost brake sometimes. So it's never a track where you're comfortable at any point during your lap. AG Bears coming now out of Juncao, going through Sucrida dos boxes. Currently sitting at P7 with a 133.2. He has to win 0.4 of a second to beat the time of Victor Perelman, who's currently sitting in front of him, coming over the line. He managed a 32.7, so he actually wins 2 positions. AG Bear elevates himself to P5.
Bad news for Ove Trangarade then, since that puts him down to 6. Remember, he's fighting for a championship here, and AJ's qualifying is over. Marco Kika right now coming around, and he is on his 2nd flying lap, a 133.7 on the board in 11th, sitting 5th in the points. It's been a great season for the Finn. just continue to improve his pace. You can see on board just how much they're sawing back and forth at the wheel through this portion. And I think he's given up on the lap. Yes, he has.
Yeah, I think he had too much oversteer in those really quick left-hand corners and just gave up the lap, trying a practice start as we speak. Now on television we see Telmo Amaral coming through the last corners. Telmo has done both of his qualifying laps already, currently in 1:35.1, sitting in 21st position.
And with that, qualifying is over. Large field today. Let's go through the starting order. Mick Claridge on the pole with Michel Dudignon in second. Nicola Cocci starts third with Dave Price, putting it in fourth. AJ Bear, we followed his flying lap second time around, puts him in fifth with Ove Trangrade in sixth. Victor Perlman starts P7. He's followed by Rob Olenek and Jamie Hall in eighth and ninth. Then it's Michael Morrison rounding out our top 10.
Yeah, the first driver outside the top 10 is the Finnish driver Marko Kika, and he's being flanked by Philip Urquhart. Row 7 is being shared by Marco Archidiacono. Next to him, Daniel Seidro. Daniele Guttuso starts the race in 15th. Next to him, Pedro J. Temaladri. David Rossi starts the race in 17th, and he's being flanked by Don Good. The last two drivers in the top 20, Alex Cameron starts in 19th, and Marcellus Breuning, the leader in the F2 Championship, starts 20th.
21st will be Telmo Amaral with Hideki Koivisto in 22nd, Andrew Ang in 23rd, and Daniel Blackman in 24th. Antonino Arcidiacono starts in 25th with Randy Huff in 26th, David Beatty in 27th, and Robert Reynolds fills out the field, having not taken a time at the start. A little bit of a worry here with the first two corners of the Senna S tending to cause a few accidents and a lot of cars in the field. You can see just how many. Attendance has really been up this season, much to the pleasure both of us and of the major community here in the Lotus 49, who tend to like to have more friends to play with out here. As we wait for the cars to grid up, you can see they nearly go all the way back around the last corner, which really are corners in these cars. Most modern cars, they're just flat out straight through. Definitely got to handle it all the way around. It looks a little bit windy today, 14 miles an hour. Trees are blowing around quite a bit around the circuit. If you want more action like this, don't forget to subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network, where they have all kinds of official racing. Meanwhile, engines are revving, lights are up, the green flag is out. Mick Claridge gets off the line decently over Michel Dudignon. Bit of an attack on third. Nicola Cocci falling to the prey of Dave Price. He's going to have the inside down into the corner as they stream around, still side by side, trying to sort it out, carrying the momentum around the outside, going to carry it around Curva del Sol. Dave Price not giving this one up, and he finally peels that third place away.
Yeah, great move, but it's still Nicola Cocci on the outside behind him. He tries to slot in. AG Bear isn't far behind as well. Not trying a move in the Cida del Lago. Stay single file here.
A few drivers making an attack. Michael Morrison makes a return. He's been attacked by Marco Arcidiacono. Looks like he gets that one by, loses another position to Philip Urquhart, as now they hit Ferradura. He's still a little bit of battling as the drivers try to sort themselves out, but going to be mostly single file for much of this race, except for little squabbles that erupt throughout. Here we see our two leaders very close. Dudignon not letting Mick get away with it.
Michel Dudignon is probably used to leading the field at this point of the race, especially with how he's been dominating the last few races. At the moment he is stuck behind the British driver. Now coming towards Junção, at the exit of this corner you have a very long straight. I say straight, it's not really straight because there's a few corners where you have to lift a little bit, but at the end going into the Senna S section, that's probably one of the best overtaking points on this track. Michel Dudignon is quite far away now as they go towards Arquibancadas. Look at the gap between the two at the moment. It's several car lengths, Joe. That's too far to try and move in the Senna S.
Yeah, not going to see any action there for first, but back behind them, a lot of cars very close together. A bit of a move by Perlman on Marco Kika, and actually Kika goes off. You can see him in the background there as he comes back on, gets it woed up in time, but loses another spot to Marco Arcidiacono.
Behind them, Philip Urquhart and Michel Morrison are very close as well. They went side by side for Curva del Sol. Almost make contact when Michael Morrison bit the bullet and braked a little bit earlier to let Philip Urquhart by.
And is that a slowdown that we're seeing from Kika?
Kika's very slow there, losing a position to Philippe Urquhart and also almost losing a position to Michael Morrison. Seems like he's picking up the pace again.
Yeah, I think he got a cut course as he went over the grass there in the Senna S, but still struggling to get the car going again. The violet machine of Morrison on the attack. And if you're wondering, no, that is not actually pink in favor of the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That's the national colors of Egypt, which has been sort of the unofficial, well, not country, but the colors that Morrison has adopted that started as a bit of a joke. And, well, the fans loved it, so Morrison said, let's stick with it.
He's certainly easy to recognize like this when he's out there on track. Going to the lead, Michel Dudillon is a little bit closer this time around to McLaren, but again he's too far behind to try and move. But the couple is both driving away from Dave Price in P3, who on his turn is driving away from A.J. Bear. So it seems like the podium contenders are at least distancing themselves from the rest of the field.
Well, A.J. Bear's on a bit of a charge himself. Remember, he qualified in 6th. Excuse me, no, in 5th, and has now got it up to 4th, past Ove Trangerade. Rob Olenek and Nicola Kochi are following closely behind them. Way off course there for A.J. Bear, though. There is a bit of pavement out there, so you can get the car going, but lost him a little bit of time as they break for Ferradura. An attack down behind them. Nicola Kochi, a wild dive that does not pay off.
The coach is actually an interesting driver because you can see to all the drivers in front as Rob Olenek and Ove Trangerade try to go side by side there. Going single file, oh, that is still Rob Olenek trying to put a nose in. Going to Bigo de Pato, still single foul over Trangerade defending. Rob Olenek trying to take a look, almost a dive bomb there on the inside. Very close together, but like I wanted to say, Nicola Kochi is actually the only driver that's falling back. He started the race in P3, currently in P7. So while the rest of the field has won places, it's the Italian that's moving backwards.
It's unfortunate for him, but credit goes out, at least for me, to Rob Olenek as well as Jamie Hall for continuing to come back. They've joined over from the Camel GT series, bit of newcomers to this car, and they haven't had the greatest of results this season, but keep coming back, and keep trying. Olenek is going to have Nicola Kochi coming back, try to make a move, but he covers him off a little bit later. Is that an attack on Ove Trangerade? Almost gets into him, carries the speed off of the Senna S in the Curva de Sol, and it's going to be a side-by-side battle, a drag race down to the Descida del Lago.
I don't know if there was a very late defensive move or a very late attacking move, but it's working for Rob Olenek, 3 wide almost. Nicola Kochi tries to go on the inside there, but it's Ove Trangerade who loses 2 positions in a few corners, immediately under pressure by Jamie Hall as well, coming out of the Descida del Lago. Rob Olenek makes it stick.
And gutsy stuff from the Italian as well to make it go 3 wide this early in the race. Oh, here we go again on Ove Trangerade under attack from Hall, coming around the outside of Orania, and can't quite get it done.
Look behind him, that's Victor Perelman, Marco Archidiacono. It is a several car, 6-7 car train at the moment, and with all the fighting that's happening, especially in the top 2 drivers of this pack, just bunches up everyone behind them. Rob Olenek currently under pressure by Nicola Kochi. Now I just mentioned that he was moving backwards a little bit. It seems like he just had a bad start and is moving his way forward now because he's putting Rob Olenek under pressure.
And the driver this is helping the most right now is A.J. Bear, who is gapping these people by quite a bit. Olenek was on the attack last time. Let's see what he does this time with Kochi coming up the inside of the Senna S. Oh, we had a big crash back there in the background as these two continue side by side, almost chopping off Olenek, but gets it done. And now it looks like he might lose the spot to Trangerade, who tries to sneak through, but just can't find the grip.
Yeah, the crash that we saw in the background was Marco Kika. Philippe Urquhart was involved with that as well, as was Daniel Cedro.
Right, let's take a look at that.
I'm going to go to a replay of that. It was Philippe Urquhart getting loose. Something that we mentioned, he was getting loose in Subida dos Bosses. Marco Kika that got the bad end from that, got hit in the wall, and Daniel Cedro was collected by them. Several cars out in that very tricky section that we mentioned before, Joe, where the car gets so loose where you don't expect it.
into the wall, and from there he was just a passenger. You saw he came back across the track and got clobbered by another. Michel Dudignon back up at the front, still holding on within half a second of Mick Claridge, but hasn't really been much on the attack. Look at them sliding through with the hot track that they have out there today. Just incredibly tough. And we should point out to the viewers that these tires can overheat if you slide them too much.
Absolutely, that makes defending and also attacking a little bit more difficult, because you can just ruin the next few laps if you overheat them too much. It seems like Dudillon is still a bit too far away, but behind him Over Trangerate is trying to move forward. He's very close to Rob Olenek, decides to move back to the racing line. However, he had the speed to try and move, but he chooses the better of it. He stays in P7 for now.
Let's stay on this battle. Oh, as a big checkup there from Olenek. Had some speed on Kochi, couldn't do anything with it. But I just want to point out that Claridge and Dudignon actually right now are pushing the pace, as Claridge set the fastest lap last time by. And still, Michel is holding on to him. Down into Desida del Lago, Olenek a bad exit, but yet again, we're seeing drivers having difficulty getting a launch off the corner if the car head just isn't going.
Just saw a little spin of Antonino Siriacono in the Senna S section. The driver from Italy had a little spin, went to the inside. Oh yes, he has another spin, almost. Ooh, and that cuts us out Daniel Blackman behind him.
Oh, he's got to be careful. That's the edge of the world there.
Yeah,
exactly. Ran into.
That's maybe a little bit of suspension damage for Daniel there. But like I said, Antonino having two almost half spins in one lap. A bit struggling maybe with the warm weather that you just mentioned, Joe.
He's sitting down in 19th now. Still an improvement, though. He started in 25th, so he's making positive gains. We have had a few DNFs today. Pedro Temalatri, Daniel Blackman, Daniel Sadro, and Marco Kika have all exited the track. Correction on that, Pedro is back out on course after getting some repairs.
The best battle on track at the moment is the battle for P5, the one between Nicola Kochi, Rob Olenek, Over Trangerate and Jamie Hall. They have been in this order for the last lap or so. Not for the lack of trying, as Over Trangerate, the Norwegian, is putting a lot of pressure on Rob Olenek. But despite the warm weather conditions, Rob Olenek is staying very cool on the pressure of the Norwegian. Oh, he makes actually a mistake! Commentator curse, he brakes too late! And that is in the Desida del Lago, loses one position, loses two positions. That's, wow. He actually got it slowed down in the end, but incredible luck for Nicola Kochi not to get rear-ended there.
Usually these drivers love old school courses, but I think this is a case where the New Englander is glad for the modern convenience of a paved runoff, as it saves his bacon. So, Nicola Kochi still leading the way. But I'm not sure if he'll take this as a compliment as an Italian or not. This is very much becoming a truly train behind him. Nobody seems to be able to do anything with him.
Absolutely, well, because he was under the pressure of Rob Olenek. Now Over Trangerate is immediately taking that honor on himself. Rob Olenek didn't lose a lot of time though. He only lost two positions, but he's still right behind Jamie Hall, just in front of Marco Archidiacono.
Looks like Jamie Hall dropping back from Trangerate. Could we see a two-car breakaway from this long string of cars down to the first corner, the Senna S? Trangerate's going to back out of it. Just going to size him up a little bit later. Oh, a little wide out of the first corner from Kochi. This could compromise his exit. Look at the speed carried by Ove Trangerate. And once again, there's just no place to go.
Only one racing line for the Curva do Sol, and it's so difficult to put it side by side there. Over Trangerate did try it, however, but yeah, just not able to make a move stick there. But this, of course, is a very difficult track to overtake on. I don't know if you agree with that, Joe, but I always think that track position is so incredibly important here. Of course, you have a little bit of draft, especially in these cars. It's quite easy to defend, make your car wide, and just really stay ahead of your opposition.
Yeah, in slower powered cars, it's easy to use the draft to get by, but I agree. In this machinery, it is incredibly tough, as another mistake from Kochi, just not offering any opportunities to the Scandinavian.
Yeah, he's making small mistakes, but not big enough for Over Trangerate to really pounce on and maybe overtake him stick, but he's sliding a lot though. And we mentioned it before, with the warm weather conditions, sliding your car a lot, that might overheat his tires. Here on the exit of Juncao, that might become evident. Over Trangerate, a lot closer to the apex, a lot smoother, also under power. You can see that over Trangerate also here slides away a little bit. Look how close they are, only 1 car length between the 2 cars. 100% in the draft now. In the gearbox, getting closer, looking on the inside. Over Trangerate is he later on the brakes? He's not later on the brakes. He stays there, however. Side by side through the center X section. Look at the black car behind him. There's Jamie L trying to profit from it as well. Over Trangerate cannot make a stick and has to stay behind Nicola Cocci for another time.
Could he carry the speed off the corner a little bit wide coming out of Curva de Sol, but that hurts his exit speed and denies him the opportunity. Did find out something interesting about Ove this week. Apparently he's a very talented artist as well. Participated in what artists call Inktober and drew something for the Lotus 49 community this week. Glad to see him displaying other talents besides just being fast in the car.
I have to say, those were incredible paintings. I urge everyone to hop on the forums and take a look at them, because those were some incredible material.
Man, just look at these cars stacking up behind Cocci now. Apologies to the rest of the field. This is where the action has been. We haven't even really checked on the leaders much, and they're still relatively close. So, again, this group of cars is Cocci at the front, then Trangerade, then Hall, then Olenek, Marco, and then Victor Perlman lining up the back of them. Then you got a big gap back to Morrison. Lead has been just staying about under a second. Oh, but the pass could be on finally on Cocci. Trangerade is much closer. He's all the way to the inside, and they have lap traffic ahead. That's Robert Reynolds. Reynolds gets well out of the way. Nice job, but it doesn't prevent the pass from happening. Finally, Trangerade sneaks through.
Yeah, and that really helped him, the Robert Reynolds there that was being lapped, because Nicola Cocci saw him in front of him and knew, if I brake on the same moment that I normally brake, I will be around Robert. So he had to brake earlier, and that gave over Trangerade the opportunity to make the pass.
Watch the replay on the pass. Those lap cars can be so frustrating. You can do everything right and still be distracting to the leaders. You can see Cocci in the white machine with the bright yellow helmet, the one getting overtaken there. So that moves Trangerade back up to 5th. Jumping back in the field, Marcellus Brunings in the middle of a nice fight for 14th with Alex Cameron back there. And don't forget David Rossi close behind, just giving a watchful eye, waiting for a mistake to see if he can get into the mix.
We called it the popcorn position that David Rossi is in at the moment, just waiting for a mistake by or Marcellus or Alex or both of them. And profiting from that now, if I'm correct, this is actually the battle for the Formula 2 lead in this race. Marcellus Breuning, of course, the leader there. Alex Cameron is also not that far behind in the championship. It's not only a battle, just a battle for P14, but actually a battle with big consequences in that championship.
Oh man, the lead closing back in. It was holding to about 7 or 8 tenths. Back to about a half second. The red and white car of Michel Dudignon is getting closer and closer to the number 4 of Mick Claridge. And we are yet to see Claridge take a win this season. We're already into round 5. Just been one of those off seasons that it seems Mick Claridge every once in a while has.
Yeah, it's just not coming together for him until now, and I don't want to jinx it like I just did with Rob Olenek, but today, and I don't know if you agree with me, Joe, but Mick today just seems so calm, so clinical. He doesn't make any mistakes, or at least seems like he's not making any mistakes. He's just quick enough to stay in front of Michel Dudignon and not giving the Frenchman any opportunity to even try an overtaking maneuver. Let's
stick with this, but I do want to report that Marcellus Breuning, unfortunately, has been overtaken by Rossi and Cameron. So Cameron and Rossi no longer have to wonder what Marcellus Breuning looks like. Pulp Fiction joke. Sorry. Anyways, as we watch the leaders continue, Dudignon inches another 10th closer. Down to 0.3 of a second.
It's very close now. The Frenchman is picking up the pace a little bit. And a few laps ago he was dropping a little bit. The gap was almost 1 second between the two. The last time around he did a 1:32.1. With that he was 0.2 of a second quicker than McLaren.
And Mick actually had a couple wheels off into the grass coming out of the Curva de Sol that time by. You could see that as another thing that has helped the Frenchman reel him in. Down into Ferradura now. Is he going to go on the attack? We are on lap 12 of 22 at the moment, so there's still a lot of racing left to go. Are we in for another epic fight between these two? Oh my goodness, he is right under the gearbox now.
Yeah, this is putting someone under pressure. Michel Dudillon just seems a lot more comfortable at this stage of the race. I'm looking at the last lap times and it seems like McLaren is just slowing down, around half a second per lap slower than he was at the beginning of the race, while Michel Dudillon is actually going quicker, setting the quickest lap of the race last time around. Maybe it has something to do with the weather or with the tires and how they are behaving, but at this point of the race Michel Dudillon seems more comfortable, and you can see that on track with the way he's putting Mick under pressure.
Up towards the start-finish line once again. Claridge able to get himself a little breathing space as we ride on board with Dudillon. Closing under braking, really closing under braking. Is this an attempt at a pass, or is that just braking a little too late? He's given room at the apex, pinched at the second apex, but they're a dead heat off the corner. A little bit better grip around the outside for Mick Claridge. Somehow denies him. I cannot believe he held onto that spot.
Beautiful battling from both of the McLarens, who went very loose in the Senna S section. You can see the tire marks he was leaving, but here on the outside, Michel Dudillon tries it here in the Cida do Lago. He doesn't make it stick though, but he's really putting the pressure on now. Side by side, several corners.
Ring the bell, because both of these guys have their gloves on and have come out swinging. Now into the technical second half of the course. A lot harder to pass through here, but still very easy to make mistakes as they come towards the Bico de Pato. Mick Claridge still your leader, Michel Dudillon still in second, and they are stretching away from third place. So even though they are fighting, they have no worries for Dave Price, who is just comfortably in third.
The only cars that Dave Price has seen today is probably lap traffic. He's really all alone out there, 9 seconds behind these cars that are fighting for the lead and 3 seconds in front of AG Bear and P4. Michel Dudillon looking a little bit further away from Mick Claridge at this point. Maybe just overheating his tires a little bit with that overtaking maneuvers that he tried last time around.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, that it just looked like the grip had gone away, but still very confident on the brakes. Wonder if he's got the brake bias set a lot more forward than Mick Claridge. Still a dead heat coming out of Curva de Sol between these two. No opportunity for a pass into the Cida do Lago. We've been waiting for these guys to come together for a hard fight, and we are being rewarded right now with 9 laps to go.
Ooh, very loose there, Michel Dudillon. That was on the exit of the Cida do Lago on the curbstones, almost losing it. Here at Ferradura, once again, just sliding inside the corner. The gap between the two seems to increase a little bit as they go into the slower section.
Still staying right within the tire tracks around every corner. Once again, just waiting, watching for an opportunity. Has a little bit of a peek down into Bico de Pato. You can see surprise attacks into there.
If we go a little bit further back on the grid, we see Hideki Koivisto, who's currently in P17, catching several cars in front of him. Those are Marcellus Breuning, David Rossi and Alex Cameron. It's a 4-car battle for P14, but also for the lead, for the victory in the Formula 2 Championship.
Big slide there from Breuning, who collects it back together. Koivisto on a bit of a charge. He started in 22nd, sitting in the 17th place. If he could gobble up these next few positions, it'll be a large gain of spots throughout the race for him. If he gets himself a very good run off the last corner, could see himself with opportunities, but he does see battling ahead of him as Breuning took a look on the inside of Rossi. Couldn't make anything stick. This is the critical corner through Zhongzhou.
Look at how loose Rossi got there, yeah, up the hill, but you could see how sideways Rossi went there when he went back on the throttle. Mercedes Browning really trying to pass the Italian there. But it looks like he just had a little bit too wide of a line through those very quick left-handers to try and move here in the Senna.
Just a little too far back and a big mistake from Bruyne. Spins around, keeps it off track. 2 positions gone as Good and Koivisto stream by.
That will hurt him. He of course was leading and he had a healthy lead in the Formula 2 Championship, but he will see his rivals come closer now in the standings.
Up in 9th position.
Yeah, sorry, Marco Archidiacono is currently being put under pressure by Victor Perelman. Going for Pico de Pato. Victor Perelman was doing a 1:33.8 last time around. That's 0.3 of a second quicker than Marco.
It's been a good run by Marco. He qualified in 13th, but he's currently sitting in 9th. Might get demoted to 10th, but still a climb in positions overall. As they come up the hill as well, past the Subidos dos Boxes. Towards the start-finish line, it looks like Victor's a little too far back, though. Not so with Jamie Hall and Rob Olenek. These teammates still working hard to try and settle this fight for 7th. Olenek ahead of Hall for now.
Yeah, it's a Camel GT battle between the two of them. It's a little bit closer for P4 at the moment. AG Bear, who was running away a little bit once Nicola Cocci formed a train behind him, holding up several other drivers. Well, Over Trangrate has caught up with AG Bear. He's getting closer now. Last time around, Over Trangrate did a 32.4. That's a second quicker than AG Bear.
Sorry to interrupt. We might want to go to the leaders because they are not only close together, but they've got lap traffic ahead of them. Who is Reynolds yet again. He gets out of the way and lets them through. But Michel Dudignon was breathing down the neck of Claridge, who slides through Zhongzhou and somehow gets the power back down. Both of these cars are losing grip by the lap. They are sideways through nearly every corner.
Wow, there was a drift and a half there for Michel Dudignon for Subida dos Bosses. Keeps it in a straight line though, but look at the amount of time that he immediately loses to McLaren in front.
My goodness, wow, look at him slide again through the Senna S. It's like watching a battle on top of butter. This is incredible stuff from both of these guys, and they're still pulling away from Price, we should point out. It's now up to 11 seconds. Ooh, pass for 4th between Trangarade and Bear.
Now let's go to a replay of that because we've seen moves in the Senna S section. We haven't seen moves here in Arquibacadas. But Over Trangrade is having a really good run out of Zhongzhou. Having a lot of extra speed, a little bit of draft as well, makes the move stick well before they're in the Senna S.
So bump Trangrade back up to 4th. Remember, he started this race in 6th position. AJ Bear back where he started in P5. They're only about 4 seconds back from Dave Price. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say, because Dave Price last time around only did a 1:33.4. Over Trangrade was more than half a second quicker. Of course, there's only 6 laps remaining, but Over Trangrade has the speed to at least close the gap down and put Dave Price under pressure in the final laps of this race.
And we've seen tire management seems to be a bit of a key around here. So I wonder if Price may be backing off just to cool the tires down and make sure that he can finish with good grip as we jump back to the leaders, who certainly have not been taking it easy on the tires.
Oh, very close. Dudignon knows that the clock is ticking at the moment, and if he wants to make a move, he only has 5 laps left. There's a little bit of traffic in front of him. There's Daniel Blackman, who gets immediately to the inside. Not a worry whatsoever for both of these drivers. Michel Dudignon a little bit too far behind to try and move in turn 4 here.
And from the onboard, we could see that Mick Claridge is flirting with the edge of the track, under braking, kicking up a little bit of dirt. And be careful that he doesn't spin the car, taking it all the way to the edge. Ooh, a slide and a Ferradura for quick Mick is going to allow Michel to close up on him, but no place to go.
And you small mistakes here and you just hold up. You really have to make a big mistake to really open up a gap and give the person behind you a chance to make the overtake stick. Michel Dudillon seems a little bit quicker though. Look at how close he is in Bico de Pato here, the duck's mouth. Good exit from Mick Claridge here. Going through Mergulho towards Juncao. There's again traffic in front of them. This time it's Pedro Temeladri. The driver who had some damage at the beginning of the race is still on track though. 27 but out of Juncao. Michel Dudillon seems close. Around 1 car length between the two. Sliding there for Subida dos Bosses. And look at the amount of space that he immediately loses to Mick Claridge.
I find it interesting. It seems like Mick is quicker on the fast parts of the track and Michel is quicker on the slow parts of the track. Are there setup differences you can do that affect that?
Absolutely, there are setup differences that you can do that really affect that. And it seems, like you say, that Mick Claridge just anticipated on that. He had a great qualifying, of course. He started the race on pole position and he knew if I have a good start and I just set up my car in such a way that I'm quick on the straights and do not make any mistake when I'm in the infield section here, I can defend that P1 position with relative ease, and he has been doing so for almost 16 laps.
Running out of opportunities, the Frenchman. Wonder if he'll get desperate. Is he going to try and make a wild dive one of these corners and just chuck it in there? Again, we see him close up. This has been the same story every lap as we ride on board, looking over his shoulder. He's right on top of him. Look at him try and widen the entry to the corner, see if he can get the run through, but he's blocked at the apex.
And Mick Claridge is just parking his car at exactly the correct position to keep a car behind you. He knows exactly how to defend around Interlagos here. And this is one of the most critical points. We have mentioned it several times. Juncao on the exit here. Once again, cars start to slide a little bit. Look at the hands here of Dudillon. Has to steer against a little bit to keep the car in a straight line. Almost hitting the grass there. Just as we saw last time around, losing a lot of track once they are on the straight.
And if you've never watched the Lotus 49 World Cup before, a little bit of poke to the inside into the Senna S by Dudillon. These two have not just been rivals for seasons, but for literal years they've raced against each other in these cars. Oh, and a big mistake! Mick tries to collect it together, but that was the opening that Michel needed. Out of the Curva de Sol, move the Frenchman into P1.
We go to a replay of that. Mick Claridge tries immediately another move from Michel Dudillon. Doesn't make a stick, but here on board with Mick Claridge. Very long, very difficult left-hander and just gets loose here on the exit. Incredible job to save it and not bounce yourself off the walls there. He loses the lead. If we go live now, he's immediately trying a move that's on the inside of turn 8, going to Pinheirinho. Mick Claridge trying it left and right to get a P1 position back.
I have to say, that was an incredible save. I thought that car was going into the barriers as they come through the technical portion of the circuit. Now, will that extra straight line speed be helpful to Mick Claridge? We'll find out for the first time as they come off of Juncao. Good exit by both cars, holding well within the slipstream of Michel Dudillon. This is the corner that gives Michel all kinds of problems. And he does look a little bit quicker. Look at him start to gain. I think we're going to see a pass attempt down into the Senna S.
Just an incredible racing line in that corner from Mick Claridge. Oh, they hit each other!
Both into the wall. Oh my goodness. And where is Dave Price? Is he close enough to get up on them? They both get it going once again. Michel Dudillon, heavily damaged, limps the car to off track. Mick Claridge as well. Looks like that car is well damaged. Dave Price, is he going to get his second win of the season?
Certainly.
What a turn!
Yeah, exactly, because that is Mick Claridge as well, out of the car. Dave Price inherits the lead at the moment, with over-triangulate closing in behind him.
Let's watch the replay. What happened here? Oh, just cut across a little bit. Wow.
Both cars did though, both cars. It seemed like Michel Dudillon went to the right and Mick Claridge went to the left, and they just converged into each other.
And on the straightaway, of all the places, and this isn't the first time we've seen these two come together in a battle for the lead. We'll watch from Michel's view, just for fairness here. think Michel was holding it a little bit straight, though, from that perspective. Well, whatever the case, they're both out now.
Exactly. It just seems like both wanted to at least go more to the right side of the track, or at least Michel de Dion tried that, and McLaren tried to cut de Dion off a little bit more to hamper his corner entry. But 50-50, Michel de Dion is saying in the chat, calling it a race incident here, but a shame to see it end like this.
And the white flag is out. But the race is not over. Dave Price inherits it with Ove Trangerade hot on his heels. And Trangerade has been reeling him in lap after lap. He cuts down half a second down into the first corner here. Is he going to have enough to try and take this lead away in the final lap of the race? Trangerade and Price both fighting for the championship. Trangerade currently leading the points. Price only 2 behind. This will swap the lead if Price can win it, Johan.
Over Trangerade getting very loose there, and Decido de Lago losing immediately a lot of time. Dave Price seems safe for now, but there is once again traffic just in front of them. Pedro J. Temeladri is in front of him, and they will catch him in the infield section where there's only room for 1 car on the line.
From what we've seen from Pedro so far, he should be willing to get out of the way of them. Haven't really seen him balk any of the leaders so far. Down into the Bico de Pato. Oh, but now he cuts down across in front of Dave Price. Pulls off out of the way, slows up, lets him through. Same thing with Ove Trangerade. Doesn't give an opportunity to the Norwegian, the number 11. He'll have one last chance if he can get the power down and get around these last few corners strong enough. Dave Price has 0.4 of a second ahead. Can he hold on for just one more corner? Yes, he can. Dave Price comes to the line and takes a surprise win here in Interlagos.
Trangerade almost losing his car there, going over the grass, but he held it. He held P2 and finishes there with AG Bear coming home in P3 and completing the podium.
Kochi gets promoted to 4th with the top 2 running a foul. Rob Olenek promoted to 5th, and Jamie Hall, great finish for both of those two, 5th and 6th. And Marco Asidiacono coming home in 7th behind them. Top 10 for Daniele Gattuso. Another Italian joining us once again. Philip Ukurthart not too far behind him, getting 11th. No real battles down the field after that as they continue to come across the line. Last one on the lead lap going to be Antonino Arcidiacono. I'm guessing they might be related somehow, those two drivers out there. So let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. We're going to come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. And stick around because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Interlagos. We just watched round 5 in the Lotus 49 World Cup here on the iRacing Esports Network. And man, we were treated to a good one with a stunning finish. A surprise winner, Dave Price. We thought that he was too far back to have an effect, but we didn't take into account that the two leaders would crash into each other. So Price snatched the win away when they took each other out. Ove Trangrade chased him all the way to the line, 0.6 of a second when they crossed it. But Trangrade takes second place. AJ Bear was in third with Nicola Kochi finishing fourth, and Rob Olenek rounding out the top 5. Jamie Hall was close to him all the way, finishing in sixth, with Marco Asidiacono coming home in 7th, having climbed from 13th. Nice job to Marco. Victor Perlman from 7th to 8th on the finish line. Michael Morrison finishes in 9th, and Daniel Gattuso rounds out our top 10.
Yeah, the first driver outside of the top 10 is Philipp Urquhart, who had, of course, a big moment at the beginning of the race in the quick section. Those quick left-handers, but brought it home, no damage, or maybe a little bit of damage, but he finished in P11 in the end, just in front of David Rossi, who comes home 5 positions gained in 12th. Alex Cameron finished almost a second in front of him in 13th. One of the big charges today is Hideki Corfiso, winning 8 positions from 22nd on the grid to 14th in the end. Don Good finishes around a second behind him in 15th, and Marcellus Broining, after his spin in turn 1 that we saw on the broadcast, finishes in 16th. Andrew Eng and Antonio Asidiacono are the last 2 drivers on the lead lap in 17th and 18th. And Mick Claridge and Dude de Jong, after their amazing battle all race long, had of course that crash and are classified 19th and 20th.
I'm glad you got Antonino on that one. So Telmo Almiral finishes 21st with Randy Huff in 22nd, Robert Reynolds 23rd, and Daniel Sadro 24th. These are all drivers who obviously DNF'd. Daniel Blackmon 25th, Pedro Temaladri in 26th, David Beattie 27th, and Marco Kika the last on the field after his good qualifying. We do have Mick Claridge here to talk to us. Hopefully we'll get our winner, Dave Price, ready to come in, but we'll pull Mick into the booth and ask him about his thoughts on that. We heard a lot of apologizing, didn't really see any harsh words between you and Michelle, so it seems like hands were shaken after that incident.
Can you hear me all right, Joe?
Yep, we got you.
Yeah, oh man, we never argue, mate. We've known each other for so long now. No, that hardly ever happens, you know that. So yeah, I think I took the blame for that one. I think it was more me than him. How did it look to you?
From watching both of the onboards, it looked like you drifted more than he did from my perspective, but I'd have to watch it a little bit more because we're always paying attention to about 100 things when we're commentating, so hard to make those judgment calls when we only get to glance at it real quick. But talk about that battle. It seemed like you were a little bit quicker on the long straights, and that kept you from being under attack for much of the race. What did you do to make yourself so much faster in a straight line?
I've really concentrated on the rear cambers this week, and I found even from 1 point of a degree made a bit of a difference, you know, and I could feel it in the end because I'd done so many laps here. And I'm pretty sure that's what got me off the fast corners, you know, because I was so good off the fast corners. I think that's what was keeping me ahead of him, to be honest with you.
Now, you did have a moment where you handed the lead away, and that, of course, led eventually to the incident. But talk to us about out of the Curva de Sol, where you had to save the car out of the barrier, and Michelle snuck by.
Yeah, that's happened a few times this week because once you get over that outside curb, you know, it's quite a bit of a lump of that curb, that is, and so it really upsets the car, and, you know, you never want to take your foot off which I should have done. But yeah, no, I managed to save it. You know, I thought I was going to hit the inside wall there. It has happened a lot this week. So yeah, I was just surprised that I saved it.
Hey Mick, Johan here. I just had a question as well. One of the things that I heard you talk about in practice earlier today was about the weather and how much of an effect did it have. Today it was not really cloudy. It was quite warm as well. What kind of effect did it have on your car, especially on this track?
Well, for this track, I've got 2 sets. I've got 2 completely different sets just because of the weather. We raced on Thursday in overcast conditions, and I was getting a lot of understeer off the corners, off every corner. So I dropped the power ramp right down and obviously dropped the tyre pressures. But this is a really hard place to tame in hot weather. It's so tough. I mean, I don't think I was full throttle from the last corner, up the hill there. And then, really, really trying to feather it through the kink over the finishing line. But like I say, the car was really good through those fast corners, So, yeah, I was so annoying. I really wish that hadn't happened, because that would have been such a good last couple of laps between us.
Especially, well, you at least defended extremely well for 18, 19 laps. Was that easier to defend in these warmer conditions compared to, for example, overcast conditions?
For me, it's easier in overcast just because you've got so much more grip. So it's just an easier car to drive in overcast conditions. But it's quite hard to pass here. I mean, you've only really got one main sort of spot into turn one. So, and I thought to myself that Michel's probably quicker over the the lap between the two of us. So that was why I wanted to get him into turn one on that lap there, because I thought if I let him get through these couple of corners now, he's probably, chances are he might get a gap. So I really wanted to get back into him and into turn one, but and I did.
All right. Well, not congratulations. Sorry, force of habit. Commiserations on the incident. Regardless, it seems like that was not typical of you guys, as we know from our watching. But for any viewers who haven't seen this, know that don't know that isn't something that usually happens. Hope to see you next week, Mick, and best of luck when you return.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Yeah, we'll be back next week. Trying to fight hard. See you next week, guys.
Always, and that gives us a good show. That was Mick Claridge, who unfortunately settles for 19th today. We're going to close up, of course, and we want to give a big thank you both to the Lotus 49 community for bringing GSRC back for coverage, and to iRacing for bringing us onto the iRacing Esports Network. Thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Johan, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page. There's a big red button that says subscribe. If you click that, you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. I'm sure I can say my own channel name as well. Make sure and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network, where you can watch all the World Championship races. The next race, boy, we're going to have a bit of a bull ring. That'll be at Summit Point. That'll be Saturday, October 20th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.